What's good, Chaotic Nation? It's your boy Chaos here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Draft League. We are not running the PDL as we have done in the past, but we have joined another league called the RGBL, where I am taking my Detroit Red Wings to the championships. You heard it here, frame one, Draft League video, taking the team to the championships. I'm actually not super confident in this team. He says, immediately backpedaling. I'm not super confident in this team. It's probably one of the most difficult teams I've drafted, mostly because I had so little time to prepare for this draft. This draft was a course of a couple of days with a 6-hour timer, which made it really difficult to kind of prep and change things. Like normally I was used to 12-hour timers or 24-hour timers, but having 6 hours is really limiting, especially when I joined the league on a Thursday. The draft started on Friday, and I didn't even have a strategy. I just knew a couple things I wanted. So a couple things I wanted are what ended up being my team. And so let's take a look at what the team is this year. We got setting up to begin our big boy Roaring Moon, the powerhouse Paradox Pokemon. I'm running Photosynthesis obviously because that's its only ability, which could be really good because it 1.5 times on speed. Could be a very fun calc, which means it just depends on how we build Roaring Moon this season. I could build it with a timid nature, which obviously would make it faster. I could also build it, I think Jolly is still faster. I want to see that. Okay, Jolly would still be faster, I'm pretty sure, so I don't have to lower any investment in attack. But obviously our IVs determine what's faster or not. It's like if I decide to sit here and go, if I decide Jolly is what I want to do, I can max my Jolly speed, and even with no IVs in attack, we're doing it. We don't invest in attack at all. We max out speed, maybe put a little bit in attack. I can always creep it, so I can creep it to 369 instead of creeping it to 370. So that way we get the speed boost and not the attack boost. It's going to be a lot of fun with Roaring Moon this season. I really like Roaring Moon for the fact that it's kind of a Sylveon counter. Nobody drafted Sylveon, which is kind of unfortunate. But I really like the idea of having a dark type frame one, as well as this is a dragon type that I feel like is really usable for the team. Obviously Dragon Dance is a great option for setup. I have a lot of coverage moves and things like fire type moves. I have Iron Head, I have Lash Out, I can just click Outrage if I so choose, I can Rock Slide, I can Stone Edge, I got U-Turn for pivoting, I got Zen Headbutt for super offense, I got Brick Break for anti-screens. We got a lot of awesome power here that I can use. I can also Tailwind if I decide to make a Tailwind and want to run it that way. This thing can be crazy, and I'm really excited about that. Plus, it can set its own freaking sun if I want, so I can even boost it that way. Not necessarily having to run Photosynthesis with a booster energy. I could just take advantage of the natural sun, and we can go from there. Otherwise, this is going to be a really good wall breaker for my team, and I'm really excited to actually use Roaring Moon this season. One of the things I saw in Draft League that I was watching for the last couple of seasons of other leagues that are out there is Hisuian Samurott. So I wanted to draft this thing. It did cost me a pretty good sizable amount of points to draft. I think it was the 3rd or 4th most common or highest tier of points. So it did take a bit of points to get there, but I believe it's a really good Pokemon all around. It's a starter Pokemon, so you know it's already got 508 stats. Base stats, but it's a pretty solid Pokemon that I can run both physically and specially, which I thought was really worthwhile for this thing, especially with its ability Sharpness, which boosts slicing moves by 1.5 times. So things like Air Slash and Aqua Cutter are both going to get boosted, even though they're physical and special. So it allows me to run this both physically and specially. One thing that's really I liked about this was Ceaseless Edge as a way to set up spikes on my opponent. I always like entry hazards, so having a residual entry hazard on top of a pretty solid base attack move, that stab, was awesome for me. Knockoff is great. We got a lot of coverage. I can set up with Swords Dance. I can taunt. I can be really annoying with this thing. We have a lot of really good options here. And I'm seeing Vacuum Wave Priority. That's awesome. Who knew Vacuum Wave Priority was going to be this thing? I might use that one. This is something that I wasn't ever expecting to draft. I really don't like Enamorus as a Pokemon, but Fairy and Flying was a really nice item of typings to have, because we needed a Fire Water Grass Core, we needed a Fairy Dragon Steel Core, so I'm like, all the fairies are gone at this point. There's not really a lot of good ones left, and I don't want to take Sylveon in lower tiers because I have the counter for it, but I thought this was a really good option. Alluring Voice being added to the game makes this really powerful. I also can run the Draining Kiss set. I can run Moonblast if I decide to. I have access to the new move that these Pokemon get, which is I get Springtide Storm, so if I want to do that. I also have access to, I think, Bleak Wind. I don't have access to Bleak Wind. That's unfortunate. because I thought that was an option on this set, and that would have been really nice to have, but I guess I don't have it because I am the Therian. I'm Therian. That's why. I'm Therian. But we still get a lot of good coverage. We got like Earth Power, we have Mystical Fire, so there's pretty good coverage there. A Sludge Bomb for other fairy types that want to run it as an anti-fairy. Weather Ball to take advantage of Sun if that's a thing that's on the field. But also, you look at the stats, like 115 attack, 110 defense, 135 special attack, 100 defense. This thing is going to be a tank, and also a really powerful offensive Pokemon. I wanted to kind of build that with this team. I like running Pokemon that can run multiple sets. So we saw Roaring Moon had a lot of options there, Hisui and Samurott, physical and special. And Amorous can also be a defensive Pokemon, but it could be very offensive. It also gives me a really low speed stat, so we counter Trick Room, which I think a couple teams have shown Trick Room, and looks like I can do Trick Room too, because there's a few Pokemon on my team. So that's an option for us too. This could be a really good Trick Room winner, and I really like this Pokemon. Plus, Overcoat's a really nice thing to kind of deal with like Amoonguss. No Spore, no anything like that. We ignore Sandstorm damage, so that's a really good counter and really good grab in for me to put this Pokemon in. Kleavor was always something that I really liked looking at, and another Sharpness Pokemon, so that's really cool. But Sheer Force also is a really good ability, so two really good abilities there. But that 135 attack stat really makes me want to use this thing. Kleavor has also another really fun move in the rock move, Stone Axe, which sets up Self Rocks similar to how Ceaseless Edge does. So we have a few different ways to get entry hazards up, which is going to be really nice. We see some ways to shut down entry hazards here with like Defogs on this set. Everything gets Vacuum Wave now, which is really cool. We have, I think I get First Impression, right? Did I see that? Did I see that somewhere? No, I don't. But we have a lot of utility with Kleavor. I think it could be a really good answer. Plus, it's just a solid rock type that I wanted to have. Bug and Rock's a nice typing, because we kind of counter some weaknesses that we have that are across the board. So like no, fire types aren't really going to want to fight this thing. Fighting types aren't going to really want to fight this thing. We can do a lot of different things there with Kleavor, and I think it'd be really useful. Plus it's middle ground speed tier, so if I want to run it slow and try to do Trick Room with it, I got it. If I want to run fast, I can. We want to take advantage of its moderate defenses, we can try to do that. I think Kleavor's got some utility for us, and I really like it on the team. The next Pokemon, this is not what I wanted to draft. I wanted to draft Ceruledge on this team, but my front office, shout out the front office, they're amazing. We'll talk about them more as we get into the season. My front office is like, hey, look, you're really asking for a Ghost Fire type that's going to be another physical attacker. You already have two. Do you really need that in this slot? You already have three really good physical attackers. And I thought, yeah, that's probably right. So I decided to go with a little bit more of a bulky option and a really good special attacker, which is Chandelure. I think I wanted a Ghost type really bad because I know that entry hazards are going to be a big part of this team and a big part of other teams too. So specifically for my opponents, this is a spin blocker that we have on our team. I can also set up with it with defenses, which make it really good. And you saw that 145 special attack stat. Well, you didn't see it because it's right below where you can see. But there's a 145 special attack stat, which makes this really fun. It's a counter to fire. It gives me a fire immunity, which makes it even stronger. I can use Flame Body in case something wants to try to knock off. It can get a burn. We can use Infiltrator to get around screens. So I think this is a really good pickup. Just because of its abilities and its special attack stat, I think that'll make it a really good team member. A Detroit Red Wings veteran Lucario is coming back. I remember using this in Season 3 to great use on my team on triple fighting team with Metacham and Hitmonchan. So I had a pretty solid fighting core in this team, but I like Lucario for the fact that it, one, finishes my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, Roaring Moon, and Amorous and Lucario, but it also gives me a fighting type coverage with things like Brick Break and Stab Brick Break and those kinds of things too. Bullet Punch for priority, Vacuum Wave for priority. I can run it physical or special because the difference is 5 base stat points, and it's pretty fast at 90 base speed. I mean, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it can be a really good option for kind of that mid-speed tier. I can outspeed a lot of the slower things that are going to be trying to take my hits a little bit more, and Lucario is just going to do a lot of good work there. I have Steadfast, which I can run against, I can use against Fake Outs. I have Inner Focus, so I can avoid flinches, or to stop Intimidate. And I have Justified in case like Dark types start getting out of hand. It really gives us another immunity that I really needed, especially because we're pairing this with Chandelure. Like, they're the picks that are right next to each other. Dark is obviously an easy option to use against Chandelure. We switch in Lucario on that. We have a +1 to attack. Just set off Lucario and let it run, which could be really fun. All right, the back half of the team looks a little different. this is a Pokemon I never thought I would draft. Honestly, Donphan's not something I really enjoy, but I think it was important for me to grab this time. Sturdy, nice ability if I expect a one-shot. It doesn't have great special defense, but it does have good HP, so it might make up for it. We also have Sandvale if we want to run anti-sand, but really this is going to be a rapid spinner for my team. I needed something to get rid of hazards. As I said, I think a lot of people are going to run hazards this year, mostly because they're so easy to get up. So I wanted to be able to get rid of hazards and not really have to rely on heavy-duty boots. Obviously, that item exists, and I can use it to get rid of entry hazards on a single Pokemon. But I wanted the access to be able to do it with everybody. This thing has a lot of really cool coverage moves. I think it's the Elemental Fangs, which aren't super great, but can be useful in a niche pinch. Gunk Shot there for Fairy types. Gyro Ball to make advantage of its useful defenses, so really good counters to Fairy. Obviously, Rock coverage. Seed Bomb, which is really nice. Poison Jab. Play Rough. Knockoff. It gets a lot of utility, and I can even maybe set it up with some speed if I want to run it that way. If I need Stealth Rocks naturally, this is another Stealth Rock user as well, so I have that option to do on this team also. Here comes our first Terra Captain. This league uses Terra Captain, so each Pokemon that is a Terra Captain has 3 different Terra types. One of them has to be one of its 2 stabs, so Electrode is going to have a Grass Terra type. It also can Terrastallize as Ice, or it can Terrastallize as Fairy. Those are the 3 types I chose, which means this could be really useful for my team, and gives me a little bit more coverage. Fairy is just a really good Terra to have, and I think a lot of people see that because a lot of their Terras are Fairy Terras as well, or they have the, Stellar Terra. But I think Fairy Terra made more sense here. I was going to go with Rock just to deal with some other Pokemon and kind of deal with our weaknesses here, but mostly it's a counter for Fire. But I thought that Fairy would be a better option just because Electric already kind of deals with flying types and some other things. Ice does the same thing, so we really don't need that. I think Terra Fairy is a better defensive one, which could let Electrode have a little bit more longevity. Obviously, this thing is really fast, which is why I like it. It's going to outspeed most of the metagame, and with my Terra typings, it's going to be able to do that. I have access to a quick Volt Switch. I have Chloroblast if I want to, nuke something. I can set up terrain. I can use a bunch of different things with this Pokemon. Set up with Leech Seed, those kinds of things. I've seen Bullet Seed sets work. If I want to use Grassy Glide to anticipate faster Pokemon, we can do that. We can Worry Seed, change Pokemon's typing. We can set up terrains, which is really cool. I can also just blow up in somebody's face with self-destruct. Who knows? Or an explosion. These are really fun. I have Discharge for nice para coverage. I have Thunder Wave for para coverage. We are really rocking out with this Pokemon, and I think Electrode's going to be really good for this team. I said that we might have some Trick Room opportunities later, and I wasn't lying. Porygon 2, one of the best Trick Room setters, I feel like, in the tier, is on our team. I didn't really know what to draft at this point in the draft. As I said, I was throwing things together at this point, really from the very beginning, but there was a few things I wanted that I got. There's a few things I wanted that I didn't get, so if you have Arboliva or Jolteon or something like that I really wanted, I'm not happy with you, and I'm going to beat you in this season. But that's that. Porygon 2 is a really great Pokemon. It is the Eviolite Pokemon, which could also pair really well with Lucario for switches in on Justified Boost. But 105 attack stat plus an 85 defense and then doubled a 1.5 times boosted defenses at 90 and 95 respectively could make this thing really cool. Trace, I can get a random Pokemon ability if I want. I can download on Switch in to get special attack or attack raises. I can run Analytic if I think I'm going to be slower. It can run a lot of really cool things. Unfortunately, Porygon was Terra banned, so I couldn't use Terra on Porygon, which would have been really nice. But we do have coverage in Ice Beam. We get Bolt Beam coverage, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. Good options there. Trick Room, as I said earlier, I can set up with Charge Beam if I want to run defensive, offensive. I can get Magnetize for coverage against ground types. I can do Electrode to shut down speed. There's a lot of options that Porygon gets, and I'm sure you've seen them in the past, so I'm excited to see what Porygon does for me this season, mostly because this is not a Pokemon that I normally would run, but it's something that I always dreaded fighting. Kind of in the back, a really weird late round pick, because Grimmsnarl is actually pretty high up there in the tierings. I got Grimmsnarl. I don't think I've ever used Grimmsnarl in Draft League. I've used it in competitive when it first came out because I thought it was really cool and I liked its typing and I liked its Prankster ability. But that 120 attack stat, 95 HP makes this thing a pretty solid Pokemon to use as an offensive and defensive Pokemon. So it could be a running stall, it could run a little bit more offensive. I like the idea that it's a prankster Pokemon that actually can function outside of prankster. It's not just tied to the niche of prankster. I don't know if you're going to see Frisk or Pickpocket. You might. Depends on what I want to run Grid Star for. But you could. Really, I wanted this thing for screens. I thought that was really helpful here. I can run as Bulk Up. I got Fake Out to kind of shut something down. We have access to Thunder Wave, so we can do that. We can trick things off of Pokemon and make them have different items. We can torment things so they can't just spam one move in case they're choiced. There's a lot of options here with Grimmsnarl that I really like, and I'm excited to finally get to use this thing on the team. And last but not least, actually this wasn't something I drafted. This is the only trade I've made so far this season. We had a 24-hour grace period following the draft. And originally I drafted Articuno and Calyrex because they are lower tier mons that had pretty good defenses, and I wanted to use them as like bulky options for Terra Captains. But Drifloon is my other Terra Captain on this team because the only thing that had enough points that I could actually Terra. Drifloon's Terra typings are Flying, Fire, and Ground, because remember, one of them has to be your own Terra type. I thought Flying was really good because it's not really a super powerful Flying type stab move. I mean, Air Slash at 75. But, you know, you can get Terra Blast and a little bit stronger, plus it's Terra, gonna make it hurt. So I think that's a really good option for us. Some good coverage and knockoff, as well as Destiny Bond if I want to be cheeky like that. I can set up Tailwinds, I can Memento, I can, you know, try to boost my speed if I wanted to. That's the really fun thing about Drifloon is it has a lot of abilities. I can run Aftermath for sheer 1/4 damage after you kill me, which could be really fun and get some really nice KOs. I could run Unburden to boost my speed with something like a Focus Sash, so I live on 1 HP and then become faster. I could run Flare Boost, which means I could run a Flame Orb set and boost my attacks, my special attack stat. Drifloon's got a lot of really cool things. Plus, this is a really nice Will-O-Wisp switch in. So I want to take advantage of Drifloon as much as possible. I thought it was better than the other two for the reason that its abilities just make it super, super great. Calyrex and Articuno both only had one ability in Pressure, and I think it's the one that makes you stop eating berries. Whatever that one's called. I don't remember what it is right now. But those two things were okay abilities. They're not the worst thing in the world, but I think these three abilities are really helpful, and that's what makes Drifloon really good. Like 150 base attack HP is great, but my defenses are pretty crap. So who knows what I'm going to decide to do with Drifloon. It's got a lot of options. I kind of like that. I kind of like the ability for it to do whatever I want it to do in a week, and I think that was more useful for me to have on my team. And because it's Terra Fire, I don't have to worry about bringing Chandelure every week. If I want to run a Fire switch, I can always Terra Drifloon, and then I have a Fire type. And that might be really helpful for my team. So I thought that would be useful. It kind of does the same role as Chandelure, but a little bit more of the defensive side of it than the offensive side. And I think it's a really valuable Pokemon that can cause a lot of problems. Plus, access to Strength Stat, it's pretty solid. I love a free heal and to lower your attack stat. So Drifloon can do a lot of work. Well, guys, that is the team for this season. I'm actually working on a draft team build for this week, so I gotta go get that taken care of. But let me know your thoughts of the team in the comment section down below. I want to say thank you to everybody who was a part of my drafting team that has put time in to kind of give me suggestions, whether it's a lot of suggestions or it's a few suggestions. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to help me work in the front office. And if you're interested, please leave a comment on this video. Let me know if you want to join my front office. I'm still looking for people to help me with battling, running mock battles, and running strategy throughout the season. So if you're interested in helping me out with that, you can join me in the description down below. As for the league, it runs till Sundays, so you'll probably see uploads either Mondays or Wednesdays at this point. I'm not sure exactly what those are going to be, but I'll let you know in the battle that's coming up this week. Obviously, I had to get this out on Wednesday because the draft was finished and everything was finished up on Monday, so I didn't really have time to get it out on Monday, so I had to get it out Wednesday. So we'll see if that continues. I kind of like the midweek video, but it also is kind of like right between everything else too, so we'll see what happens with the video. I'll let you guys know. So please join me on the Discord so you can keep up to date with that. You also follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Discord, Twitch, and my other YouTube channel, Visible Corporations, to want more content from me. The Detroit Red Wingulls are going to do the best to become the champion this season in the RGBL. I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching my team builder. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time for the battles. So until then, my name is Chaos. I'm signing off. Stay safe, and as always, burn it up.